Hello there. Thank you for joining me today for this IELTS General Reading preparation video. We're going to be covering the table completion question type. And I get a lot of mixed reviews about this. I think it really depends whether or not you are a visual learner or if you prefer something more traditional, such as a typical passage and more of the typical question types like multiple choice. This one contains a table, and we're going to read the information in our passage and look to see where it best fits in our table. So I'm going to show you some strategy, tips and tricks, and of course, a step-by-step example. Let's get into it. All right, first I just want to go over what you can expect to see in this question type. And like I said earlier, you're going to complete a table based on information in your passage. So you have to be good at summarizing and paraphrasing. Obviously, things are not going to be word for word the same in the passage, so you have to understand what would fit best based on the information in your table. So another strategy that you'll have to focus on is locating specific information in the passage, and for that, we're going to use our scanning technique. Okay, you can also prepare yourself for these lovely directions that come up for certain completion question types. No more than 3 words and or a number, 1 word only, and no more than 2 words. These are the most typical. These are the instructions you'll see. Of course, if you have no more than 3 words and or a number, consider that the most difficult set of instructions because it gives you really any option. So you could have 1 word as an answer, you could have 2 words as an answer, and you could have 3 words as an answer. And so obviously you can have more than 3 words, but just know that you have a lot of options here. Of course, if you have 1 word only, it makes it a little bit easier for you to know what to scan for in your passage. And of course, since you're going to be writing out the answers, pay attention to the grammar and spelling. Spelling goes without saying. You're finding the words from the passage, so make sure that you are adhering to how it is spelled. You wouldn't want to lose any silly points based on that. The grammar we're going to look at in our strategy because you want to make sure that what you're writing makes sense grammatically. That's a good clue as to whether or not you're on the right track. Now, since we're going to be writing our answers, I just want to go over some tips with you. First off, like I said, pay attention to spelling. This really goes without saying. If you have numbers that you have to write, be aware of your options. So they can be written using figures like you see here, or by writing out the number as you see here. So even if in the passage you see the number 12, you could definitely write it out since it is the same thing. This is really important and good to know. Now, depending on your question type, prepositions and articles are optional. This means if they fit within the word count, you can use them, but they'll usually appear in parentheses like this when you're looking at your answer key because they are considered optional. They don't really make a difference in the main point, in the main answer. Then when we look at hyphenated words, remember that these count as 1 word. So if you're looking at something like sugar-free, even though you have 2 words here, it's joined together by a hyphen, and that makes it 1 word. This is a very typical mistake that I see. And lastly, this goes for the entire exam, in my opinion. Do not use contractions. First off, you're not going to see contractions used in the exam, and do not write it. This goes more for the writing section, but I like to include it in reading as well because you might see things like do not in the passage. That doesn't mean that you can join them together as a contraction in your answer, so do not do that. Okay, our guide for today has 3 steps with a lot of strategy here. The first step is we're going to analyze the table and underline keywords. So note how we have analyzed the table. We want to see how it's structured, if we should be moving from left to right, where our information lies, where we have to find answers. Every table is different, and it's really beneficial if you just take a couple of seconds in the beginning of this question type to understand how your table works. This will help you scan. Then as we are doing that, we're going to identify the grammar that would fit. So are we looking for a noun? Are we looking for a verb or an adjective? What is the type of word that we are scanning for? If we don't do this step, it's going to make step 3 more difficult, and also more time consuming. So make sure you know exactly what type of word you are looking for. And then once we've done this simple prep work, we're going to scan the passage and of course answer the questions. This specific question type contains examples that are out of order, some that come in order, so really be prepared for anything. And today we're going to be in section 2. So as you know, the general reading exam has 3 different sections. Section 2 is called Workplace Survival. So that basically means you're going to be reading things about careers, perhaps life in the office, situations in the workplace. It's going to be career oriented, and it's going to give you information you would need to know to survive in the workplace in an English speaking country. Some really common examples include employee handbooks or information about jobs and ways that employees can be dismissed. It's a bit more technical when compared to section 1, but not as complex as section 3. All right, let's get started with our example for today. Our steps will be on the left-hand side, and everything we need to look at for our questions, the table, and the passage will be on the right-hand side. So first off, I just want to show you that we'll be working with questions 15 through 21 today. We have our table here, and our instructions are the infamous no more than 3 words and or a number from the passage. So our options could be 1 word, 2 words, but nothing more than 3 words and or a number. All right, so we have reasoning and cause, guideline, or effect. Before we look into this table, let's look at our step 1 so we can just be thorough, and I'll explain everything to you. So we're going to analyze the table and underline our key words. So we have 2 columns, okay, the reasoning or cause and its corresponding guideline and effect. This is very similar to a cause and effect layout, which is something you will probably see for the table completion. It's quite easy to put information into this format, cause on the left, effect on the right. So we have to read for correlating information in the passage. But before we do that, underlining the key words in the table will be helpful for us. And usually in the table completion question type, there are fewer words to underline. So if you compare this to the multiple choice question type, you definitely have fewer words to look at and really less preparation work. So keep that in mind. Now, just to move things along, I'm going to show you the keywords now, and we'll look at them together. I'll explain why they were chosen. So here we are with our lovely red underlines, okay? And let's start with number 15. So we have clients and values. Obviously, the values correspond to this word uphold, but we're just looking for the main triggers that will call our attention in the passage. So we have clients and values. Now, in order to do this, we have these 3 dots. Employees uphold sophisticated something. Okay, so you see how sophisticated is pertaining to the word we're going to find. All right, let's look at number 17. We have if employees have doubts and dress code. So obviously doubts on the dress code. We see consult something or perhaps someone. We'll get into the grammar in our next step. 18, if an employee has a visible. So I have an underlined employee here because obviously employee is everywhere and it's probably going to be everywhere in our passage. So I'm just looking for the word visible in this case. And then we see here the guideline or effect, receive something, direct supervisor. Okay, the next one, number 20, sensitive and chemicals. Then number 20 here, not excess. So not is a great word to underline because it's a negative and it will call our attention to perhaps things that employees must not do or should not do, or in this case, must not use. So I've underlined not. And then our last one, donating $10. This is an excellent keyword because we'll either see the number 10 or perhaps the word 10 in the passage. It's very specific, so definitely keep this in mind. We see employees participate company-wide. That's also a great keyword. So notice I just underlined things that would call our attention in the passage. Employees comes up quite often, so keep that in mind as well. Okay, now we have our step 2. We've done our keywords. Now we're going to identify the grammar. And remember, if you're thinking that this is time consuming, I am going slower just to explain everything to you. When you do this at home or on the exam, it should really not take you that long because you won't be explaining it to anyone. You'll just be using the strategy. Okay, so we're going to take some brief notes regarding the type of word we'll be looking for. And what I mean here is understanding whether it's a verb or a noun or a thing or a person. We're really going to think about what potential answers could be because this will help us in the passage. So let's show our notes, and I'll scroll down just so that we can see everything. Here we go. And I've looked at number 15. I think it could be a verb because it says in order to, and usually this means in order to do something, okay? Based on the rest of the sentence, that looks to be true, and it'll be some sort of verb that pertains to the clients. All right, let's look at number 16. Now, since sophisticated is an adjective, I am pretty certain that number 16 will be a noun. Okay, and it will be something that perhaps employees can uphold, like some sort of standard. Already, just from looking at this, it looks like we're going to be examining some sort of employee handbook. So this would make sense. Number 17, consult something. Okay, so it's most likely a noun, just like the rest of these, because it will be something from which employees can gather information. Then number 18 is also going to be a noun, I think, because it's something that is visible to the eye and able to be seen. And so number 19 would also be a noun because it's going to be either something physical or verbal, so maybe like a piece of paper or something verbal from the direct supervisor. Then if we look at number 20, I'm also pretty sure this would be a noun because it will be something that can be used by employees or perhaps by clients. And then number 21, I also said this could be a noun because it will be something in which employees can participate by donating $10. So this was quite quick. Again, this is not foolproof, so I am not 100% sure that this is going to be the case, but it already has us thinking about a couple of things. One, the theme of the passage. We already have a really nice outline of what we are going to be looking at. And if for some reason what we find does not adhere to these ideas, as long as it makes sense and makes grammatical sense as well, we're probably going to be fine. So don't worry too much about this. It's just a great tool to prepare you. And also, I just want to let you know that usually most of these table completion questions will have a lot of nouns as their answer. So you might be thinking 16 through 21 is really similar because they're all nouns. And that's true, but notice how we have ideas about how these nouns are different. So something is visible, something can be physical or verbal. You might have examples where the noun is a person. So really try to be detailed when you do this step. All right, and we are at our step 3. We're going to scan the passage and answer the questions. Now, we are pretty fortunate because today we have these lovely headings. So you see basic guidelines, footwear, tattoos. This will help us. We can look for synonyms as well and sort of block off a section that looks promising that might have the same answer. So it's a really nice idea to block off sections because remember, you do not have to read all of this, and you really should not be reading all of this. So you can make notes, you can reference things, and we're going to answer the questions by following this method. So I'm going to scroll down here. Remember, we have no more than 3 words and or a number. So I'll just scroll down here so we can see everything. And remember, we have reasoning or cause and guideline or effect. Okay, so if you remember from number 15, we talked about clients and values and employees upholding something. Now, you don't necessarily have to start with number 15, but I just find it's a bit easier to start from the beginning. So we'll just scan as we go along. We're looking at company dress code, so it's all going to be about clothing and presentation, and that fits in with what we learned here from our keywords, so good job. Okay, so I'm just going to start scanning here. We see the company is called Allegheny Limited, And right away, I see clients. So it could be a trick. It could be an answer perhaps to this first section. Let's see. We have clients and customers, professional, dignified. These words make me think of the word sophisticated that we had in number 16. So I'm going to read along here. And it says, we pride ourselves in a professional atmosphere in the office with our distinguished clients. In order to effectively assist our clients who need our professional input, we expect our employees, there's the key word, to maintain a dignified appearance. Okay, and this dignified makes me think of sophisticated as it's a great synonym. And this makes sense because the reasoning or cause is about our clients, and the guideline or effect will be about, I think, the appearance. So I have two things that I have to put in here. First off, I'm going to do number 16 because that just comes out to me as the very obvious answer. So employees must uphold a sophisticated appearance. It is one word. It fits within our guidelines. So I'm going to write appearance, making sure that it is spelled correctly as per the text. And now I'm going to look at the cause. Now, in order to blank clients, and remember here we were looking for a verb, and it says here in order to assist. So I'm going to go ahead and put assist because that looks like the best option here. Note that effectively is also used. This is a way to describe assist. I'm just going to put assist, but I'm sure effectively would also be considered correct, but not necessary, such as the main verb assist. All right, so there we have it. Perfect, we have our first answer. And now I just want to clear our screen and move down here a bit and move down here as well, because I want to pay attention to the headings. So we see things like basic guidelines, footwear, tattoos, accessories. Now, none of these keywords or headings come up in our question set, but that's fine. It'll just be good to keep a note of that. Okay, so we're seeing here the cause for number 17. If employees have doubts on the dress code, they should consult something. Now, I do see something here that looks interesting because it says employee handbook, and I knew that we were looking out for a noun in number 17. So it says, we expect our employees to use the employee handbook in times of doubt or clarification. And doubt was one of our key words. And we know that this is talking about the dress code, so it would pertain to doubts on the dress code. So they should consult the, I would say definitely, employee handbook here. It fits within our instructions of no more than 3 words. Note that I'm writing both employee and handbook because it is a specific type of handbook. You see that they're both capitalized, so both of these words are needed. Also, I want to call your attention to this common trick. You see how this sentence is reversed. So basically it says they should consult the employee handbook if they have doubts. And here in our table, we have if the employees have doubts, they should consult the handbook. It is the reverse of what you see in the passage, which comes up quite frequently in this question type. Okay, excellent job. Let's just continue to scroll down here. All right, we see if an employee has a visible something, they will receive a something. And remember, this we were talking about nouns. So I'm looking for direct supervisor. I'm looking for something that is visible. Just because I have studied up on my vocabulary and I'm thinking of things that would make sense, I'm going to look here at tattoos because tattoos are visible. And I see this thing here, unable to be seen. And I see direct supervisor, which is exactly what we see in the table. So let's just look around here. It says all tattoos must be covered by clothing and unable to be seen. And if employees are in the office with visible tattoos, here we go, they will receive a warning from the direct supervisor. This is exactly what we need. And so I see if an employee has a visible, so I'm going to use the singular version of this because it says a. So we'll put if an employee has a visible tattoo, they will receive a, and we didn't look at that, so they'll receive a written warning. And this looks like the correct answer. So I'm going to write written warning because it's a specific type of warning. Okay, let's clear our screen. Let's see what else we have. Number 20, sensitive to chemicals and something about excess. Nothing in footwear here. If I see accessories, I do see chemicals right away, and I see sensitive, so sensitive to chemicals. Okay, employees may be sensitive to chemicals. Therefore, we have to look for the effect. We urge our employees to use perfumes and sprays as sparingly as possible. Now, as sparingly as possible is a great way to say not in excess. So note how excess was not used here, but this phrase that is a synonym was used. So that is important to note. And now we have up to 3 words. So we could say perfumes and sprays because it makes grammatical sense. It is up to 3 words. Perfect. So perfumes and sprays. Perfect. Okay, we have the last one, and this was, in my opinion, the easiest question because we have something very specific with $10. So if we look here, exactly, in relaxed casual days, we see something about $10. I see it right away. And by donating $10, the effect is that employees can participate in a company-wide something. Now, note again how this $10 comes in the beginning of the sentence in the table, but if I am reading here in the following sentences, I don't see anything that would answer this. Instead, we have to look above. So I see here, due to our participation in national fundraisers, our entire company reserves various days for relaxed, casual days. Now, company-wide is a great synonym for entire company. It is a noun again, like we thought, and so it looks like this would be perfect for number 21. I'm going to put all 3 words because it fits and it makes sense. It's a specific type of casual day, a specific type of event. And so I have relaxed casual days. And there we have it. So I'm going to just check over and make sure that everything has been completed, and it has. And notice how we did not even pay attention to the words and the sections that did not help us for this specific question type. That is exactly what you should be doing. Never read the whole thing. Okay, before we check our answers though, I just want to call your attention to number 18. Remember here in the passage, we saw tattoo as a plural word, so it was tattoos. But in the table, you see if an employee has a visible. And this is a trick that you might see on the table completion question type where the grammar in the table will affect your answer. So in this case, we changed it to the singular form, tattoo. So just keep that in mind. All right, so let's clear our screen and check our answers. And yes, it looks like everything was correct. And on the right-hand side, you'll see the answers highlighted in yellow with the explanations that we talked about together. So just remember, analyze your table, pay attention to the grammar, and scan as necessary and nothing more. Great job. Okay, time to wrap up and finish this lesson. I'll leave you with some do's and don'ts. For our do's, I want you to understand the best way to approach the table. So notice how we analyzed the table quickly today. You can definitely do this on your own and just understand if you have to read from left to right, or if you want to start from the top and go down to the bottom, or vice versa. This will help you when you're scanning. Of course, you want to identify the parts of speech, verbs, nouns, and this will help you understand exactly what you should be looking for. And this will help you scan the passage efficiently. Don't forget to write the correct amount of words. Very important here. So pay attention to your instructions. And what you don't want to do, obviously, you don't want to read the entire passage first, but also at all. So you're only looking for the information that will be beneficial to you to answer the questions. And also, you don't want to read for general information. You are looking for specific answers to your questions and filling in your table. Once you've done that, move on to the next question or the next question type if you are finished with this. And of course, you don't want to write more words or misspell the words that you've chosen. Pay attention, make sure you're spelling them according to what you have in the passage. This will just make it easier and alleviate this concern. Okay, again, great job today. I hope this cleared up any doubts and it helped solidify your understanding of table completion questions. And I would encourage you to come visit us at www.bestmytest.com/IELTS. Here you will find a lot more information about the IELTS exam with strategies and even more practice. So go ahead and visit us there. Thanks again. Have a great day, and I'll see you for the next lesson.